Hello, NeXT community. I wanted to show you a project I'm working on here. Ooh, I've got the new tech here too with a little bit of a... I got a new light, using the tripod. We're getting fancy around here. So this system's actually going to be going to MIT. And I'm going to do a little bit of comedy because I know both the guy I bought it from and the guy I'm selling it to are both... I consider them friends and good customers. And you always get oh, it worked the last time we turned it on. Have you ever had that in the used computer market? You know, it's a good selling tactic. Yeah, everything works fine, man. So I jumped at the opportunity and spent about $3,100 on this particular Turbo Cube with Dimension board. And I know I've got a known good keyboard, mouse, sound box, cables, because I just used them on the last systems. Everything worked fine. This is a new monitor I pulled up from the basement. Or I should say a new old stock. Well, it's not exactly new because it says burp sanitized, controlled property. And I think it was from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base or Area 51 or something like that. Interestingly, this one says Solomon Brothers, which is a trading outfit in New York. And who knows how long all this stuff's been sitting, and I'm told, oh yeah, everything worked fine. So I get everything hooked up, we press the good old power button, and nothing, no response. So everybody goes into panic mode at this time. Where's that Rob guy? We got to get a hold. Our NeXT isn't working. And then this monitor, like, it wasn't making any noise, but I just finagled the power switch and, hey, it makes a little sound. And hopefully I could get the power button to stick on in the on position. So this is kind of what I deal with. At least we know it kind of works because I'm hearing stuff. So nothing from the NeXT Cube. So first thought, I'm going to try and replace the BIOS battery. And as it hasn't powered up or made any noise, we could go ahead. I face it this way when I'm working on it because it's easier just to see what I'm doing. Rather than having it face the other direction, round back. So we're going to make sure that the power's off, unplug your power cord, and this is the Dimension cable, which is a 13W3. Just kind of be gentle with it. And then this is my little custom cable over here. And if the BIOS battery doesn't work, I'm going to double check that all these components work. For example, I've got the sound box here that we've modded. So it supports both ADB and non-ADB. And because this is a Turbo Cube, I can use ADB components. So I'll be able to figure out if it's the keyboard, the sound box potentially. Hopefully we're going to get this monitor fired up. I'm going to take a look at that switch. But at least it's making noise now. Because it's going to MIT, I'm kind of sending vibes to this particular computer for Gilles. And I bought it from Tristan. You know, he's been making a lot of the 3D parts from me. And I don't know if he ever actually powered this thing on. But, you know, I gave the buyer a good deal as well because I know it's going to be used in the MIT Media Lab. So I've got the little Mensa puzzle up here, you know, sending good vibes. So at any rate, what are we going to do? Okay, so to open up your NeXT Cube that you've got that isn't working, and to check the BIOS battery. Ooh, I got a Mac memory sticker too. They make good stuff. Some Mac memory is actually compatible with NeXT hardware. It can be finicky, but you just have to know which sticks are compatible and which are not. To open up a NeXT actually made a tool. This is called a NeXT, I guess, cube wrench. But it's not really a wrench, but that's, I think, what they just called it, NeXT Cube tool. And it's the equivalent of a 3mm socket. So I'm always looking for these things because they go into the black hole, literally the Black Hole Incorporated. So I went and bought a bunch of these screwdrivers, and I managed to lose all of them, even if I have 6 or 7 of them. It seems like they all disappear, doing different projects. At any rate, so this is what you need to take the back off the cube. And there are 4 screws. I'll kind of set this over there. Cable. You can tell I'm just kind of winging it. Hey, it's not 4 in the morning yet. It's only about 11:30, and I thought, because Gilles was already asking if I had the tracking number. And I said, I'm going to make a video for you because, I just got the cube in, and we got a lot of work to do here, man. If this is going to MIT, I don't want to look like a clown, even though I am. And we're going to have to do new caps and probably new RAM. And this is kind of the first time I'm opening this thing up. And I don't know whether Tristan has opened this up, but we will have an inspection here and see what I'm working with to figure out if it's been opened, if it's been stored okay. Are there dust bunnies in here? Are ghosts going to fly out? Oh, man. And so we get those 4. And these screws are kind of cool because they're made to just stay in place and dangle there. So once you have them all loose, you should be able to just kind of grip it. And it's such a tight tolerance here, too. I'm going to set this tool down. So I just kind of grab it there. Once you get it started, kind of go to the other side. And if it seems to hang, I probably just need another turn or 2 up here. And try and be careful because the paint scratches. And you just kind of roll it back. Now, the manual says you can just flip this thing up there, but I prefer just unplugging it here. And usually the plug-in's right on the top. And you can kind of look at the fan. And so this one was manufactured March 4th, 1992. Now, that's kind of cosmic because today's February 28th. Tomorrow, or actually, I think it's about February 29th, which doesn't happen too often, right? Leap year. And so we're just a few days away from when it was originally manufactured. So cosmic stuff like this happens to me all the time. Very cool. So good. I'm feeling good vibes. So I'm going to go ahead and set this down. And let's take a look with my new fancy light. See how she looks. It doesn't look too bad inside. I'm not seeing anything too major. Looks like the dimension board is fully populated. And, there is no hard drive at all in here. Okay. That's good to know. It does look like it has a floppy drive hooked up. Now, to remove this motherboard, what I like to do is I kind of get a good grip. You just slide it out about maybe an inch or so, right? And then you have to be really careful with these cables, the original ones especially, because they become brittle. And you just want to be very gentle. Someone once told me you should never have to force a component in place or either plugging in it or unplugging it on a computer because they were engineered to just, fit with precision. So you want to be careful, have good lighting, which even sometimes I don't have. Okay, and so when we slide it out, I can see a problem already, all right? So as we can see, this is actually bank 1. There are 4 banks. And I am looking at it thinking, well, it's missing a SIM in slot 1. So I doubt this thing has been powered on in a while. And bingo! As I suspected, she ain't going to power on if she doesn't have a BIOS battery, right? So either the battery was dead or it just didn't have one. And then the second thing, well, it's always worth pulling apart, is you could go in, blow all the dust out. And this is actually my first time opening this cube. So I'm pretty good at just diagnosing what could potentially be wrong. So everything looks pretty good here. I'm not seeing any swollen caps, but I'm going to have Matt, my ace capacitor guy, and what we've settled in on, because they are a high quality cap, is Austrian caps for blue capacitors for these larger ones, and then we do ceramic caps for the smaller ones. And you can order those from, Mouser, and there's certain parts. And whenever I say mouse, my cat is going to meow because she has a favorite mouse toy. And whenever it gets this time of night, Bella's going to want to participate. She's old enough now where she can't jump up and get in the middle of things. Yeah, like Yoda, my other cat, was always good at doing that. He was full on participation. I miss the little guy. Off on some tangents. I was actually looking at adopting a cat today, and there's a couple orange ones in there. Sorry to go off on the tangents, man, but okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put this BIOS battery in, and we can see if she powers up. And for my sanity, we can actually use this RAM. I'm going to feel back there to see if it maybe came loose in shipping. Sometimes they do. And voila, I found the missing RAM stick. Now with these, I'm hoping this is showing up. That's another thing, the reason you want to, maybe instead of powering it up, open it up during shipping, because they tend to be, if the way these set, you set them in a 45. These ones have the nice metal clips on the edge, and you should be able to see them kind of sink in, and then there are these little tabs here on the end that should stick through. So they kind of went to this at an angle, just because the tolerance is so tight between the power supply and the motherboard. And with these turbo motherboards, you can actually go to 128 megs of RAM. So I'm looking at the revision of the ROM chip. So this is actually and that the ROM chip's over here, right? So this is a V72. And what a lot of people don't realize, in order to run ADB, you need the V74 ROM. And I've got a little ROM burner, and I think actually Brian Archer, one of our cool engineers, actually made a bunch of them for me. I think I've sold those, but I did buy it's called a ROM burner by Batronics. I got a good deal on one on eBay, so I can actually burn ROMs. And sometimes you need to because you can put the latest ROMs in the motherboards, which in this case, it makes it compatible with ADB, and it was the V74. Just got a bunch of these new batteries in. I'm going to use this. I like this traditional 2/3 volt battery. I do have some other ones that came in that have a NeXT logo, and they use a watch battery that are pretty cool. But I think I'm going to go ahead when I'm shipping something and use this battery. The other ones would work well if you have the system in place already. But I'm kind of concerned because these other ones seem to pop out of the socket pretty easy. And you can see what happens. Those two things would be enough to baffle somebody for a while. And I suspect Tristan was probably freaking out, maybe, just a little bit, because he couldn't figure out why the thing wouldn't power up. And maybe that was why. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this floppy drive in. And you want to look and make sure all your pins are lined up here, right? I can do that kind of with this light, and I'm hoping that I'm actually recording this. I should check that real quick. Is it? Oh, yeah, it's recording. And then we're going to make sure you can kind of align this so that it's parallel with the connection, right? And that makes it easier to align. And these cables get kind of brittle. You want to make sure that it's even and level, okay? I don't know if I've done this type of explanation before, but I'm going to go ahead, pop it in place. And now, let's see if any luck here. I'm having a SCSI SD drive. I had assumed that there might be a hard drive in it, but because there isn't one, I'm just looking at what I have available on the bench real quick and see if there's anything that's maybe going to work for us. I've done so many projects here. Bear with me. Hopefully it won't be too much of a mess. Oh, man. This is what you call really winging it. And so I just so happened, let's see what this thing says, to have an IBM. Nobody's ever got fired for using IBM, right? So this says June 95. And because it has this little bracket on the bottom, tells me at one point it was living in a NeXT station. So what we're going to want to do, these Molex 4 pins are kind of difficult. You can see kind of I have battle scars on my hands. That one came out pretty easy. And then what we could do is you got your little power cable here, right? So we're going to plug that in. You guys are like, dude. Okay. Then we're going to take this little cable here and be able to plug it in. All right. We got it all aligned. There and there. How's that for winging it? We're going to set this back in. Okay. We're going to plug, without putting the back on, I should be able to power it up here. And then, I'll go through the complete case. We're going to get those recaps done. I just want to see if I can get this thing to power up and come to life. Because I suspect it may not have been powered up in a very long time. So, and I'm wondering what the original hard drive had on it. That would have been cool to see from Solomon Brothers, because I believe they're a trading outfit. Okay, so press the power button, and with any luck, we're going to get it to power up. Hello. I did hear something. Okay. Is that in place? Okay. So I can check all my connections here. Got that. Okay, so next I'm going to try and just reseat the motherboard real quick. Make sure that's snapped in firmly. For purposes of our test, I'm going to pop that out, the dimension board. Okay, power supply, looks like it is in place. We've got the 2 screws holding it in place, right? Well, maybe we don't. Okay, so there are 2 screws down on the bottom, but it seems like it is securely in the back plane. Okay, so further troubleshooting, we'll go ahead and unplug. As I say, this is just my first test of this. Now, I do have another sound box over here. So, for purposes of the demo, let's try that real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug this sound box, right? We're going to plug into here. Make sure it is aligned. Well, what am I doing? Yep. Okay. Yep, looks good. Good contact. Unplug our little keyboard, and we're going to plug that in here and see if it powers up now. Okay, so I'm just kind of walking back through everything. So let's see if it's maybe the power cable. So I'm just kind of troubleshooting everything as we go here. So I did have another power cable. And these are all kind of common things that I do. You know, is it plugged in? Does it turn on? Or some of the first things you should ask when troubleshooting. Someone's, saying we're having problems, the computer isn't working. Is it plugged in? Is it turned on? Okay, so it's not the power cables. We got the new BIOS battery in, which I'm going to check again. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this off, and I should have, hopefully, if I'm on it, another custom cable here from one of my many projects. Let's try. Oh gosh, I'm really looking like a fool now. Okay, so I've got this one. Hopefully it's not plugged into anything. This is an original NeXT 6-foot cube cable. If at first you don't succeed, try again. It's like battling an octopus around here. There we go. So, go ahead and unplug the power. Yeah, this is the one that, it worked the last time we plugged it in. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, unplug my little custom cable, because that could be the culprit. We're going to try this no good NeXT cable. Now, I just I'm hoping for signs of life. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and unplug the DB19 connector here, the custom cable. So we're just kind of walking it back through all the different components that it could be. Okay, ooh, that card's a little loose in there. I definitely want to put something underneath there because it is conductive, believe it or not, so that the card does not ground out on the plastic shell, which would blow up the mono amp. So for now, I'm just going to slide some paper under there. That'll keep that in place. All right. Can you see how my desk quickly becomes a mess? An octopus? Okay. First, you don't succeed, try again. Now, because I have this going into the sound box in order to get video, we're going to plug that in. And the dimension cable, which is plugged into this monitor that may or may not be working. I just want to see if maybe that will get this thing fired up. Okay. So, to make sure it's not the sound box, let's see, keyboard could be the other thing. Let's see if I've got another keyboard here. NeXT keyboard. And I do. So, we're going to bring this keyboard into play. I'm lucky enough where I have all of this stuff, so I can kind of switch back and forth. But for somebody that's just bought a system, that doesn't have all the components, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this in case it is something to do with the keyboard. But I believe this is a known good working keyboard. And we're just kind of stepping through everything. I'm also going to check and see I put the ROM battery in directionally correct. And that is a brand new ROM battery. And what I may do is just pop in a different ROM battery. As I say, I was told, yeah, this all worked the last time they plugged it in. So that's where we're at. We're probably up to 20-some minutes on the video. Are you not entertained? Okay. So with NeXT computer, Steve Jobs wanted one continuous wire. Okay, and so that's a great idea, right? Except it's a proprietary wire. So you got this non-ADB mouse into a non-ADB keyboard that powers up the computer through the sound box, and the monitors were actually powered up through the same style of sound card. And these were the first sound cards that were capable of doing digital quality CD sound made by Sony for NeXT. And NeXT actually distributed their software First ones to do it on CD-ROM. Okay, so we've got the new keyboard, mouse plugged in, see if the power works. Okay, and to just be absolutely sure, I'm going to go ahead and try to unplug this and this. Okay, and then we're going to try and plug them into that last sound box here. And by me doing all these things, I'm kind of narrowing it down as to what it could be. Now, chances are I have two bad power plugs is a possibility. There we go. It feels like the motherboard mates correctly. And so what I'm going to do now, as we're not getting any response this way as well, unplug everything, slide that motherboard out. I'm going to try and reseat the power supply. And take a look at what's going on internally. Make sure there's no bent pins on the back plate. But if the power supply is not seated firmly, that could cause it. I'm going to take a look at the motherboard and where the battery is connected and see if that's maybe where there's an issue. And so stay tuned. I'll just go ahead, since you guys wanted a long video, right? And unplug again. So this time what I'm going to do, slide this dimension board out, take a look at it. So this is a NeXT dimension board. Looks to be in good shape. Sometimes these will break. It's kind of a weird design. And, well, it looks like different style of RAM on it, right? So I'll probably pair these up with 8 meg sims that are the same. I'm not sure what's going on there. I suspect maybe these are 4s. And these are probably 8s, so we're looking at 32 and 1648. It's got the VLSI chip, the Intel 860, which was better than the Pentiums, I'm told, in a lot of ways. They can handle, more instructions and stuff. New these boards, I mean, if you had a maxed out on RAM, could run, $12,000. And I've actually seen invoices for turbo cubes that were, 25, 35 grand. You have to realize how expensive the RAM was back then, as well as like a gigabyte hard drive would run you, 4 grand. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, pull the motherboard out again. And I try and be patient here, I was really hoping to just get this thing to power on. After all, I mean, I just paid over 3 grand. You would think that, it all worked last time we plugged it in. How many times have we heard that in the vintage hardware market? Okay, so I'm sliding it out carefully. I'm going to inspect to make sure I didn't do a DSO, which is a dumb shit operator. And so we got the positive and negative. Yep. Positive goes towards me. That's good. And it's it better be a known good BIOS battery. So sometimes if it doesn't power up, it could be this cap right here. And I'm looking at the caps, even the back of the board, see if there's any discoloration from maybe a leaky cap. I'm not seeing anything that stands out. But new caps will kind of resolve that issue. If not, we've got some really talented engineers. Brian, you're probably taking a gander at this, snickering. He's the guy that would be able to help me out on it. So here's our power supply. Now, there's 2 different models. There's the 983. These are the later model. And the 152. These are really good because you can actually... in single monitor mode with the custom cable, you can actually use these without having to have a separate load board in there. The earlier model 152s, you had to simulate monitor load, and Brian developed a nice little thing for us that does that slides into the slot. Okay, and I'm looking in on the back plane, You know something? I see on this back plane that, okay, hold on here. I'm going to set this down on the ground. On the dimension side, and maybe even the cube side, we might have an issue. And this could have been done by somebody panicking because it wouldn't power up. Yeah, I'm going to say that there might be, what'll sometimes happen, I've seen it with new caps on, and or the existing pins, is what'll happen. The back plate's held in by 3 screws, and you need your handy dandy cube tool. And what's interesting is the stamp on the inside of the case says February 6th, 92. So it's probably like February 29th, 2024. So the stamp on the inside of the cube case says February 6th, and the on the back panel it says March 4th. So yeah, we're kind of hitting right in the middle of those two dates, which is interesting, isn't it? On a leap year day, nonetheless. And it's going to MIT. Time travel's real, man. I know it. Okay, so I'm going to pull this, and we'll get an idea when this actual back plane. I can tell it's a later one because of the stamp. And so we're going to pull this out. In order to do that, we're going to have to take these rails out as well. So an easy way to do that is you can put this tool down in, right? And you just can kind of pry it back, and it makes it easy to lift them, right? Or actually, if you've got a flathead screwdriver, that works a little bit better. And then you can kind of do the two-handed approach. It's a good thing I've got plenty of time here. And like almost all the tools I need right at hand. It's almost like I planned this. I didn't think it was going to go this way, but, you know, if it wasn't a live demo, you know. So here we go. As Steve Jobs used to say, it's not a live demo unless something goes wrong. Okay, so what I do, you got to be careful with those clips. You can kind of just pry them right back and then just lift up gently and it'll pop right out. You want to be careful because the plastic gets brittle after all these years. And it's got 2 pins. These guides don't look too bad. And you'll see this is where it gets brittle. You can kind of see that, I hope. But you just kind of barely pry them back, and that makes it easy to take out the drive rails. And so, take these 3 screws and just set them out here for now. And we'll get this other guide out. And then what I'll probably do is, if those pins are bent on the back frame, back plane, I'm going to go ahead and end this video because I want to go ahead, well, I've got it all stripped down anyway. I'm going to clean out all the dust bunnies, take out the screen, and because it's probably never been removed. It's like the dust screen. And sometimes I'll find moths and stuff in there. So we'll hold that up. And then just kind of gently bring this back. And this looks good. Okay. Yep, the clips are intact here. And by being careful, I didn't break those pins. That's easy to do, and I've seen it happen a lot. I've even done it in the past before I learned the technique. And what I'll probably do is put my stamp. I like to put my stamp on the back wall there. Okay, so what was I seeing here? It kind of... Okay, if we look down the rows of pins, you can kind of see them. And it looks to me like there might be some little metal flecks in there. So I'm going to be careful because those can kind of short between stuff and prevent it from powering up. It may just be remnants of dust. And I'm not seeing any bent pins, which is usually a good sign. So, the other thing I'm going to try probably is I'll pop in a different power supply so we can, figure out if it's a power supply as well. Well, I've got this thing disassembled. I'll go through, clean out this, clean out the interior of the case, take the top rails off. So it's basically a frame off restoration. This case is in pretty good shape. I mean, I've seen a lot worse. And, well, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Um, Apologies for not having more luck, but as I say, it's kind of what you run into in the retro hardware business. Don't become discouraged. There's always people out there that can help and give advice. I am happy to. If you get yourself into one of these NeXT and you can't figure it out, drop me an email, give me a call, send smoke signals. I hang around nextcomputers.org and Next Computer Enthusiasts, and we got a lot of talented members in there that are very friendly as well. We'll get you back up and running, even if I don't sell you stuff. But I've been doing this over 30 years as of February 9th. I started in 93, and it's been an excellent job. Love all my customers. Even when they charge me, an arm and a leg, I'm just kidding Tristan, and it doesn't work, and he was playing like it did. Maybe it did for him. Sometimes they just become temperamental. I believe these little NeXT computers sometimes have souls. So signing off for now, and stay tuned. This is just day one of this project. And Gilles, I don't quite have the tracking numbers for you, but appreciate your business and patience, and we'll get her up and running. Have a good day.